Morning, everybody. Daniel Allison, the average dude. It's the final day of 2025. Freddie Blanton, good morning.
Good morning, Danny, the average dude. Freon Allison, live at 7:55 on the last day of 2025. First sip, let's go!
And that, folks, is why I've got the greatest co-host that money can buy.
And this ain't cheap.
Cheap, folks. It's not cheap. You wouldn't believe it. Buongiorno. Good morning, Joe. Happy Pump Day. Happy 2025. The end of 2025. Red Wing Russ Hammond. Great to see Red Wing Russ on the bus. And hey, here's Gary. Gary, great to see Gary. I love to see Gary on the bus. And I love to see this guy, M Cubed. M to the third, Metal Man Matt Venuto. Fred, tell me something good about 2025, bro.
Tell me something good. Ow. In what area? What aspect, Danny?
Tell me, how would you,
to know?
Honest, how about this? I want to know from everybody in the comments, give me a scale, a 1 to 10 scale. How was 2025? 1 to 10.
Man, it was good. It was really good for me. I'm going to throw out like an 8.6, right? Because you always have room for improvement.
Got to always have room for improvement. And DJ knows all about that. He's improving daily. He's improving.
I thought it was Friday.
It does feel like a Friday. It's Pump Day. And hey, we've got a guest. We're hoping that we don't have technical difficulties. He is coming, but we don't have him here yet. One end is simply a new beginning. I like the 8.6. I like Joe's 8. Like you say, that's a good solid year. We're not too down on it, but we do. We have to leave room for improvement every single week. Hey, let me ask you something. I've got a question.
Russ, 6.8.
6.8.
I'm not happy with that, Russ.
Hey, he had a lot of things that were, I'm going to guess, Russ had a lot of things that were out of his control. He had a lot of things that were out of his control. And sometimes we can't control that number, right?
Sometimes it's out of your control. You cannot control it.
That's exactly right.
Kind of link up, Danny.
Thanks for backing me up on that, Fred. I appreciate. This is why he gets paid so much, folks.
I am so surprised that there's not a comment talking about how fantastic your haircut looks.
Should we get him to rate the hair 1 to 10 too?
1 to 10.
Hey, we get a lot of comments that way. 6.8. Every year that I'm alive is a 10. Now I like that. That's that attitude of gratitude. Yeah. And that's a big deal. Metal Man Matt coming in with an 8.5. I like it. I like it.
Yes, sir.
Hey, and DJ at an 8 as well. I put my number right in there also. And I do have a question for you. So we had Dark Helmet, Frank Schwartz, CEO of F3. You know, if not for F3, would First Sip, the energy bus into the workday, would it even exist, Freddie?
No. As a matter of fact, we discussed this show leaving a workout one morning.
We did. And Freddie and I, for you folks that don't know, we went to school together, Bowling Springs, for a few years, and then the average dude decided to take homeschool.
They kept us in one classroom all day. We had to eat our lunch in there and everything. I'm not sure what was up with that.
We felt special. That's why we feel so special now. We got a lot of attention, but I would say that it was about 20 years later, I found this young man. Didn't see him. 20 years later, I see somebody sitting at a coffee table right downstairs here. and it was Freddie Blanton. And so my question for you, Freddie, is what happened before I saw you sitting at the table, the F3, having coffee with the guys? How did you find out about F3? What's your F3 origination story?
Peterbilt. Right.
Okay.
He Bobcat equipment, and he'd come in the office and he was like, "Hey man, you should come to the workout. Come to the workout." And then finally I was like, "Hey, come pick me up Saturday morning," because we lived in the same neighborhood. He's like, "All right."
I love that.
Been going ever since.
Now here's a crazy thing. Let's just connect these dots. So I didn't see Freddie for 20, 25 years. I don't want to do the math right now. It was a long time. Peterbilt mentioned it to you. He took the initiative to tell you about something that was going great. He liked it. He enjoyed it. He enjoyed doing business with you. And he said, "Hey, you ought to come to this workout." And then I just happened to go to this coffee shop, see my friend Freddie, see Dan Miner, see all of the guys, get invited into this group. And now we've got this thing called First Sip, Freddie, and we're getting ready to interview Dark Helmet, the CEO of F3.
Bam.
I like it when a plan comes together. Remember the A-team?
I look back and I think, I wonder if Peterbilt just thought I was fat and he was basically trying to tell me that I was out of shape without telling me. Is that why I kept getting the invite?
Maybe he liked you. Maybe he probably thought you would feel better if you made it to a workout. So my question, do you think he did the right thing inviting you to the workout?
100%. We've said it a few times on this show. Men need community with accountability.
And before I forget, we've got a great leader at our group, Lieutenant Dan, LTD. Say a few words about LTD, his leadership style. What do you think?
Oh, well, he's kind of the leader that doesn't get loud or involved until he has to. And then you realize, oh, yeah, he's the one in charge. Let's fall in line.
I love that. I love that. He lets you rascals do whatever you got to do. And then he brings in, throws the hammer down. So without further wait, we're not going to wait any longer. We're going to get Dark Helmet, Mr. Frank Schwartz, onto the program. Here he comes.
What's up, fellas?
What is going on?
Good morning, my friend. And I made a mistake just as I was going to put you up there. My hands got a little sticky and I clicked. And so it's just one little error there, but we're going to forgive that. Frank, good morning to you. Saw nothing. Well, good. Hey, thanks for joining us this morning. We were talking about our F3 origination story.
I saw that. Yeah, I heard.
And we're excited to hear how did you get involved in F3? I think it was back in 2014, wasn't it?
It was end of 2014, and a guy named Peterbilt came to me and told me I was fat. And then, no, I'm just kidding.
He's everywhere.
No, it's funny because so I'm up here just right in Charlotte. My office was in Charlotte. And I just kept hearing about this F3 thing. And I'd been, I'd gone to the doctor earlier that year and I was overweight. And she said, "Look, you've got high blood pressure. You've got high cholesterol. You've got sleep apnea. You got all this stuff." And she says, "I'm going to start prescribing medicine to you. And if you don't finally work out, like I've been telling you to for years, like that's the only choice I have. Next time I see you, if some of this stuff isn't better, that's the alternate, or the route we're gonna have to take." And I was like, well, I don't love that idea. So I thought, well, I'll start going to the gym or something. But I kept been hearing about this F3 thing kind of in the wings, right? And I was like, I don't know, it sounds terrible. And so a buddy of mine who worked for me kept looking better, and I was like, "Hey, what are you doing?" Because now I'm interested, right, in this sort of thing. I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I do this F3 thing." And I was like, for crying out loud. And then he tells me what it is. He says, "Yeah, this morning we did," and I don't remember what it was, but XYZ thing. And I was like, "Well, that sounds terrible. I'm never doing that. That sounds really hard. Like there's no chance, right? I'm not doing that." So, but finally November rolls around and I hadn't really plateaued necessarily at the gym, but I didn't know what I was doing. I would just sort of show up, and I'd jog on the treadmill for a mile or maybe two if I was really feeling, plucky. And then I'd go and sit on some piece of equipment and move it around like I knew what I was doing. Even nobody was training me. I had no idea.
Working out. You were working out.
I guess, I guess. And I'd go and I'd curl in the in the mirror over there, you know, try and look like, oh, look, oh, you know, okay, that looks like something, right? I know what I was doing. And so I kind of, but I kept hearing this F3 thing. So finally one Saturday, I just decided, you know what, I'm just going to show up. And so I went out to an F3 workout, and where we are, it's an hour long on Saturday. And the way that they did it is they would split the leadership, right? One guy would lead the first half, one guy would lead the second half. And so, and I didn't know that obviously, but I show up and we get after it. Man, we were running all over the place and doing stuff. And I was like, my gosh, this is terrible. Then I was wearing this great gray sweatsuit. It was probably 10 degrees or something out there. I looked like Rocky. I didn't know that you should have gloves. Like I had no gloves. Some guy gave me, he was like, you're an idiot. Like, here, have some gloves, right? All this kind of stuff. So we get to the 30-minute mark and the guy goes, all right, bring it in. And he starts, you know, give some, you know, motivating speech and stuff. And I was like, man, that was terrible. I'm so glad that that's over. And he goes, all right, now for the second half, I'm going to hand it off to this guy. And I was like, how is there a second half to what we just did?
I need more of a halftime.
Right? I thought I was going to die, Skid. I was like, this is terrible. So anyway, we get through that. But then the end of that, there was a circle of trust, right? Fifth core principle. We always have a circle of trust. And we get down to the end of that, and guys, you know, gather around. And of course it's, you know, freezing cold, right? And I'd done that hour, probably the hardest work that I had maybe ever done since high school, you know, high school wrestling, right? I mean, it'd been forever since I'd worked out even close to something like that, right? And a guy, you know, guys laid their hands on each other, and and here in the South, it's pretty common, probably is in your world too, Freon, right? You know, like we've said a prayer, right? Now I was like, well, that was weird. You know, like, I don't know how I feel about that, right? You know, to me, prayers are very private, you know, and it's very reverent, you know, like, but this guy was just sharing his heart and pouring it out there, right? And after this, maybe the second or third time of showing up just on a Saturday, I wasn't going to go more than once a week because clearly this was a cult and I didn't want anything to do with it, right?
And they prayed at the end.
Yeah.
Sketchy.
Right? Total cult, right? Terrible, very bad idea. So a couple more times after that, and I went home and I said, honey, to my wife, not to anyone else, just so we're clear. I said, honey, I think that this is what our men's group at church is supposed to be like. Like, I think that there's something here. And I'd only been coming out, you know, maybe 3-4 times, something like that. And I said, I think this is going to be important at some point. Right now, at that point, you know, F3 is, you know, 3 years old or whatever it is, or yeah, I guess almost 4, but you know, I was like, this is going to be important. There's something to this. And then from there, it just kind of, I kept going on weekends, and then pretty soon I was going during the week. And then pretty soon I was too stupid to say no to, you know, some folks asking me to do some stuff. And then, you know, lo and behold, here we are.
Oh, awesome. That is a story. And it seems like we've heard similar stories before, doesn't it, Freddie? You've got folks, it's these common struggles, right?
Yeah.
With a lot of, you know, it's a men's fitness group for folks that don't know what we're talking about. F3, fitness, faith, fellowship. We talk about it often on this program because it is such a powerful thing when you get men together. That I loved what he said. Freddie said it was like maybe what the men's church group was supposed to be.
Yeah. Well, at that point, so you leave the doctor's office, and this is where I think a lot of men maybe hide themselves sometimes. Where were you mentally when you just got that news? Like you got to do something, or else we can put you on medicine.
Oh, I knew that I was a little overweight by about, you know, maybe 50 pounds or something, right? You know, and I knew I wasn't happy with how I felt necessarily. And I had just started. It's funny because like right around the same time, I just noticed that if I sat down in my car, I could put my arm on my stomach. Oh, like I could rest my, you know, like, and I noticed that like going up steps, I was a little winded, you know, and I was like, well, this isn't good. So I was pretty disappointed with myself and just frustrated that I kind of let myself get to that point, you know. But mostly I was just, you know, I was like, well, that's fine. You know, if this is what we got to do to make sure I don't take a bunch of medicine and, you know, have a stroke. Cause she was like, you're a stroke waiting to happen. Like any minute, like you're going to drop dead. And I was like, well, you never want your doctor to say that. Right.
Yeah.
So fast forward though, I'll tell you, you just mentioned the doctor again. It just made me think like, so fast forward a year and I trimmed down some and was feeling better. And she was like, all right, this is what I'm talking about. She's like, what are you doing? And I said, well, it's kind of this weird thing. It's called F3. And she goes, my husband started the F3 Foundation. And I was like, what? This guy named Haywood. Yeah. So, it's, I was like, well, you need a prescription pad that says F3 for fat guys like me. Like what, why didn't you tell me? You should have been the one to tell me. Yeah. Yeah. So, but it is funny, you mentioned common problems and common complaints or I would say, just a common thread, of what happens to a man.
Yeah.
Right. The struggles. Right. And every guy, because Fred, I don't know how old you are. Skid, I don't know how old you are, right? But if I was a betting man, I'm going to say mid-ish 40s, right? Somewhere in that neighborhood.
You'd win some money.
Yeah, somewhere in that neighborhood, right? And a guy gets to the point where he's coming on 40 or just past it, but right in that 10-year span of 37 to 47, somewhere in there. And he looks around, he starts realizing, man, I got a pretty good job and got a beautiful wife and a couple of kids. And now what?
Yeah.
What am I supposed to do now? Well, that's certainly part of the issue, right? Is have I peaked? So some guys decide that I'm good, and I'm just going to kind of camp here on the mountain and they think they've reached some sort of summit, and so they sort of camp out and they're like, I'll just be good. I'll just stay right here. Right. And those guys, unfortunately, remain sad clowns forever. And you see them, you know who they are.
Yeah.
They're the guys that will always kind of backslap you at church or at the grocery store or whatever and be like, and you're like, hey, Freddie, how's it going? And you're like, it'd take two of me to be any better. And you're like, oh, shut up, bro. Like, you're such an idiot. Like, what kind of stupid, like that's ridiculous. But he's not real. He doesn't know. He's a mascot. He wants to appear like everything is fine and then live his life however he wants to live his life. Right. And he lives in that kind of quiet desperation that we hear about a lot. Right. But go ahead.
Yeah. No, you said something that we talk about a lot. It's the truth. The truth is what's relatable. And when we have a group that shares what they're going through and we can all relate to that, that's such a powerful thing.
And that was what it was at that in that COT, some guy just tore his heart out and laid it out there for everybody. And I was like, man, I think this is what we're supposed to be doing at church. This is what we're supposed to be doing everywhere, because there is something special about community. That's what just like you mentioned before, right? Like, and so I've said it many times and I'll say it many more. People are like, oh, you're a fitness group. And I'm like, no, we're a men's leadership community. That's what we are. We're that. Movement. We're not a business. We're not a charity. We're not an events company. We're none of these things, right? We're not a church, right? A lot of guys want to try and make F3 their church. We're not your church, right? What we are is a framework. We're a movement, but we preach and teach a framework that will make all of those aspects of your life better if you'll live it, right? That's how it works. That's how it's supposed to go. But unfortunately, guys sit around and they go, well, I don't know. And, there's not to get preachy or anything, but there's a scripture that talk about men not knowing the truth because they just don't know where to find it. Right. And so that's part of our job, is to make sure that men know the truth and come into community with one another. We're not a workout group even. I mean, we are, but we're a workout group only in the sense that workout is what brings the men into community. Right. I say it all the time where I say, look, if knitting, Skidmark, if knitting was the thing that brought men into community, we would knit like with fire in our hearts.
Nobody's business. Right.
We would knit so aggressive. It would be amazing. Right. But it's not what works. Right. What works is bringing men together and having them suffer shoulder to shoulder and move forward like that. That's what works.
It's a big deal. And I keep throwing up this word because when I think about F3, that's what it is. We connect with each other. There's a disconnect to our life. Maybe that's where you were in 2014, disconnected from life. And it starts with health, but to your point, it's the leadership skills. It's getting around the guys. It's feeling connected that energizes us, isn't it?
Oh, it is absolutely. And Freddie said it too. You know, with or maybe it was you, Daniel. I don't remember, but a healthy dose of accountability in there.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
I don't get to just be like, oh yeah, you know, I made some goals for this year. You know, they're going to be awesome. I wrote them down on this index card that I put in my desk drawer. You know, right? Like I have to face another guy every morning, and if he sees me getting fat, he can assume a couple of things, right? Not just that, hey, Frank, the holidays were not kind to you, which, by the way, this holidays was just a struggle, Freddie. I mean, my God.
I'm glad it's almost over.
Oh, amen. I don't want any more people in my house. I don't want any more parties to go to. I don't want my daughter baking any more crap. Like, I don't, just leave me alone, right? But you know, they see that and they go, if Frank, right, if Dark Helmet is getting a little plumper, that means that not just his discipline around his food is probably slipping, right? This is looking at, you know, a number of aspects of life. And he can pull me aside and, you know, that's what I would hope would happen, right? As Freon would go, hey man, you okay? And I'd be like, oh yeah, everything's fine. I'm doing great. And he'd be like, cool, let's get coffee and talk about how fine you are. Right? And hopefully sometime during that coffee, he'd sit down and be like, hey buddy, we're friends, right? Of course. And he'd say, and you know that I love you no matter what? And I'd say, come on, baby, this is us. And he would say, you're getting fat. What's going on?
What you been eating for breakfast? And how late do you eat?
And I'd be like, well, you know, burr, burr, burr. And then the excuses would start. And then he would say, hey, do me a favor. I thought you said we loved each other. I thought you said we were friends. Why don't you just tell me the truth? I care enough about you to not let you lie to me or to yourself anymore.
Ooh,
how about that?
God, you're starting to sound like Skidmark.
Uh-oh. That's no good. We can't have that. Right?
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Yeah. That kind of accountability and that kind of uncomfortable conversation when you know someone does have your back and they're not just telling you something just to tell you, but like they know better, but they're truly concerned about your welfare. Freddie, where does your mind go? Freddie's good about calling people out, Frank. So we have
love,
to
right, Freddie?
It is love. All with love. But it makes me, I saw something the other day. If you want to be successful, you must respect one rule. Never quit on yourself. And that makes me think about where guys find themselves just before they may join F3, and then they may get hit with some positive accountability. You cannot quit on yourself. And I think this group is key with that.
Absolutely. So, see, I think Frank said this. I'm going to read this quote, and he's going to tell us if he said it or not. For those continuously improving, there is no peak, and the best days are always ahead of you. Is that true, Frank? Is that true, Dark Helmet?
I did say that,
okay.
And I do believe it. I do believe it, right? Because it's kind of like we were talking about before. You know, there's that guy that hits that sort of, you know, midlife, and he goes, "I'm going to camp here." Well, you know, then you've given up on continuous improvement. You've given up on your friends. You've given up on your family, and you've given up on yourself. And you're going to pretend like somehow this little chalet that you're building, you know, is where it's at. And this is the peak, right? That now, oh, you know, anybody who climbs higher than this, good luck, right? You know what? Because I've hit it. I'm where I'm supposed to be. I'm comfortable, bro. I told guys this at a New Year's Eve convergence this past week, and I said, or not New Year's Eve, Christmas Eve, sorry. I said, guys, I just want you to know that whatever your mom told you about the fact that you're good enough just like you are was said with love, but it was not true. Okay, you're not. And you said, talk about, you know, Freddie says, talk about you can't quit on yourself. Let me just go ahead and tell you, if I was left to myself, I 100% would quit on myself.
Yeah.
I have no hesitation saying that, right? I don't love that. I wish that wasn't true. I wish I was a stronger man, better discipline, all that kind of stuff. But the truth is that if I was left to myself, there's no way. There's no way. I wouldn't do anything. I would still be in bed right now, probably. It's only 8:20. I don't have to be worked till 9. Right? You know?
Speaking of truth, let me jump on a truth right here.
Do it.
The average dude loves to have the best hair of the show. As a matter of fact, he went and got a haircut yesterday to try to outdo you. And I just want to speak the truth. It didn't work, Danny. He got you.
No, not true. Dude, Danny is as handsome a guy as you can get, especially at his age.
Come on now. Hey, what I do want to ask y'all about, I do want to go back to this too in a second. And now y'all throwing me off talking about my hair. That's what Freddie does. He throws me off and he gets me in my head.
Terrible.
And
he's terrible.
And then,
you see how he appeals to your ego too?
Exactly.
Terrible.
Exactly. He's very manipulative.
Come on, Daniel.
I wanted to throw up Metal Man Matt. He said, how did you pick the Dark Helmet name?
Oh, I didn't pick it.
Yeah. So
Matt,
this is not an F3 show, so they don't know.
Yeah.
So you share with him.
Yeah, if you don't know, so Matt, I don't know where you live, right? And I don't know whether there's an F3 workout nearby you. Probably, if I'm a betting man. So the fact that you're asking me that means to me that you haven't ever been. So the first thing I'd say before I tell you is, brother, I don't know where you are in life. I don't know what you're up to. I don't know the last time you looked in your wife's eyes and you thought to yourself, I'm giving her my absolute best. I don't know when that was, right? But if it wasn't today, then get your butt out and get to a workout and get around some men who will help you be able to answer that question. Now, one thing that you will know if you had been to an F3 workout, or when you go to your F3 workout, you will find out that you don't get to pick what your F3 name is. You are named. It is bestowed upon you. Much like, Greenville, South Carolina. Guess what, buddy?
He's surrounded.
It's replete. Yeah, you swing a dead cat, you'll find a workout, I promise, right? But you don't pick your F3 name. It is bestowed upon you, much like this position. I didn't run for this. I didn't apply for it. It's bestowed upon you, right? So when you show up to your F3 workout, they'll ask you some things about yourself, and then they'll give you a terrible name. Now, I don't know why. I'm so sorry they named a guy Skid Mark. That is terrible, right? I assume they named Danny because Freon, he must have done something in like the electrical business or
There was a time, but you see a skid steer.
I got it. So skid steer. They couldn't have gone with skid steer. No, of course not, right?
No,
so the idea, Matt, is it's got to be just a little insulting. You can't love it too much because then you can't give you a name like Batman or something like that. That'd be terrible, right? Nobody would be like, how do you? It's supposed to be a little bit poking the hole and a little bit of fun. And so the first thing I said at the end of this first workout in my amazing gray sweatsuit was, they said, all right, what's your name? I said, Frank Schwartz. And they go, Schwartz, like Spaceballs? Oh, well, guess what? Your name is Dark Helmet. And that was it.
Done.
Hey.
I said nothing else about myself. They knew nothing else about me except that. And that was how that happens. And something would happen similar to you. So Matt, you would say like, oh, I live in Greenville. I lived here my whole life. And then, and they'd be like, oh, well, tell us about yourself. Matt, tell us what you do. And he'd say, oh, whatever. Right. Now, if you're unlucky, you get named after what you do for a living, because here's the thing, right? I've got it on both sides. Skid, you still work for a company that has skid steers, right? And so it still kind of makes sense. Freon, you do not.
I kind of like Freon though. It just sounds cool.
Sure, yeah.
So,
but if they had named it a little more on the nose, like it, or a less cool name, right? Then connected to your man.
I know. Yeah.
So I think it ought to be a little bit personal, and I think it ought to be just a little shake of insulting, so that you don't think too highly of yourself. And we really, like, if a guy comes out and he's really fit or really handsome, we like to give those guys really bad names.
Yeah,
right?
They got
so the rest of us feel okay.
And I do want to talk about that, because I took homeschool growing up. I wasn't on a sports team, wasn't in the military. I wanted a group just like F3 provides. And I get out there and I'm learning, I think, all of the things that one would learn if you put yourself in these types of situations. So here I am in my 40s, we'll say, and easy, Fred. And you're learning these things, and it's not always comfortable, Frank, right? I mean, you've got guys that are calling you out that might make you feel embarrassed, but man, it is leadership, isn't it?
It is unfortunate. And you do see that sometimes where a guy will come out and maybe even catches a little bit of fire. Like he likes it at first. And the first few times that somebody's like, hey man, the push-up is generally performed with your chest approaching the ground and then back, like, and then he's like, well, up yours, man. Like if you're a guy, yeah, exactly. The head bob. But like, if you're a guy who's easily, I hope it's okay to say this, who's easily butt hurt, right? Whose feelings are real sensitive. You have to be real careful here. And I think it's good for leaders to be cognizant of that, to be conscious of that and to try and make sure that nobody is unduly, picked on or something like that. But part of what we're about here, don't ever misunderstand this. Part of what we're about here is making men back into men.
Yeah.
Right. We say leadership, and a lot of people confuse that with management, right? We're not a community management group. We're not going to help you get some sort of better position in your world or in your work or any of that kind of stuff, right? We're not a management group. We're a leadership group, right? So what that means is sometimes you lead and sometimes you get led. And part of being a good and virtuous leader is being a durable man. Your little baby feelings can't play into this, right? If you're going to get your feelings hurt with somebody calling you out on something or giving you a funny nickname or something like that, man, you're going to struggle in life. You're going to struggle in life. And we're here to kind of help you understand that struggle is good for you, right? That stuff is good for you. That's part of why we work out outside.
Yeah. Well, it sparks change.
Yeah.
What did you say?
It sparks change.
That's right. That's what I wanted to say. You said, hey, you may not change your career, you may not, but if Swanee, you feel connected to a group of guys and you're working out and you're looking better and you're feeling better, you're probably gonna make more money. You're probably gonna be more effective in whatever it is you do.
That's just facts, as the kids say, right?
That's
but it is, it's the old how you do anything is how you do everything.
Yeah.
Right. You've heard that one. That's kind of it, right? So if you're not willing to subject yourself to hardship, then what are you going to do when hardship comes? You don't get to pick when that happens, right? You don't get to know. You don't get to know when your wife's going to have a tough day, right? Yeah. You don't get to know when your kids are whatever's going to happen, right? You don't get to pick those days. And so the only way for you as a man and a proper leader in your home to be effective is to be prepared. You've got to always be prepared. And the only way I know to prepare is by courting failure and kicking it in the teeth as often as I can. Right. And when it kicks me, then I get up and keep going. And what makes that easier? Hanging out with Skidmark, hanging out with Freon. Right. Look, this ain't some kind of revolutionary genius thing that I made up or something. Right. This is, first of all, somebody else made it up. Right. That's number one. But also, even Dave Redding, Dredd, the founder of F3, he would tell you, he'd say, there's nothing new here. There's nothing brilliant here. This is just what works. This is just how men are wired. This is what we're for. This is what we do. And every guy who comes out to F3 gets it. If you really just poured yourself in, you'll see it. If you can come out unguarded and be willing to let yourself have an experience, right? Like, then you'll get it. You can't not get it. Now, whether you stay, that's up to you, right? That's going to be a test for you, right? Because like this morning, it was 20 something degrees, and what are you going to do?
Yeah. They said it earlier, show up. And I think this has been fantastic. This is another quote from Dark Helmet. Feelings follow behavior. You want to feel different, do different. We're entering into 2026. Tell us what's on your mind. If somebody's not feeling like they wanted to in 2025, we got scores earlier on how people wanted to feel. Going into 2026, if we want to feel better, what do we need to do?
If you don't feel like you want to feel here at the end of this year, then I recommend you talk to the guy that is in charge of that, which means you should probably go in the restroom and grab the two sides of the sink and take a long, hard look, right? That's the deal. You're the one in charge of that. I'll tell you this, boys and girls, I suppose. I don't really know how to. I got 3 daughters and a wife. You'd think I'd be better at talking to women, but I got nothing. Right?
You do need a men's group.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I need testosterone somewhere. But the good news is, and the bad news is roughly the same, right? It's your fault.
It's your fault. That's right.
It's your fault.
Hey,
So
and with that, we can remove all excuses. We can face that guy in the mirror, and we know what it's going to take to change. I love that. I love that quote. Did you say that, or did AI make up that you said that?
I don't use AI for stuff like that. It really bugs me when guys do, to be honest.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. If it didn't come from your own head, like then maybe maybe you should have like a little disclaimer, like AI wrote this, right?
Yeah.
I didn't make it up, right? I wrote it that way, but I didn't make it up. Like that's timeless, right? If you want to feel better, do better. Like
that's right.
I don't know how to break. I mean, look, if I did what I felt all the time, I was doing that, right? In fact, I'd probably be 100 pounds heavier right now, right? Instead of just 50, right? I probably yell at my kids. My kids have never heard me yell. They don't even understand, like, the concept to them doesn't make sense. They don't get it. They're like, why would a dad yell at their kid, right? But let me tell you something. Early on when they were little, they just don't remember. They just don't remember because I was fat and angry about everything, right? Me against the world, baby, right? That's how I lived. And I really, and it's something that I still struggle, but it's something that I've had to really work hard to kind of get rid of, is this idea that I'm alone. No one can help me. No one wants to hear about it, right? I'll shoulder this all myself. I'll take care of it. I got this. I'm a man, like it's exactly right? Without the connection, it's the best thing that's ever happened, right? I was fine. And I wish that someone had left me fine, right? But now I like to think I'm effective.
Yeah.
I like to think I'm effective. And that's not a bragging point, but it's what happens. I think if you apply those things, those timeless truths, right? Connect with men. You're the average of the 5 guys. That's the old Jim Rohn, right? You're the average of the 5 guys you hang around the most, right? That's part of what I think Daniel's mission is, right? Is to raise everyone's average, right? You're a guy you're the average dude. Now I know you think you're just the average dude. I think you might be the average dude. Do you hear the difference?
The average dude. Yes,
I get
absolutely.
it. But your job, your mission is to make men's averages raise.
That's right. To raise the standard. But also, I call myself the average dude because very often it has nothing to do with talent, skills, abilities. It has to do with that, with the heart, right?
Behavior, right? Well, then heart, yeah. But that's exactly it. It is the heart. But if you want your heart to change, then do stuff that'll make your heart change. If you just sit around going like, well, I think I need to change my heart. And I think this is a good practice and I think it's helpful. But if you're a praying person, you say, Lord, please help change my heart. He will. But here's the problem, Daniel. He'll expect you to do something to get there.
Action.
Yeah. That's right. We can't just pray for a miracle and wait on the miracle to come. Nobody's coming to save us. But I do love the simplicity of what we've done here in the last few minutes. And I know we got to close this up, but we have simplified it to, hey, it's in our power. It's in our responsibility. There are resources out there where we can get involved. It may not be easy. It might be uncomfortable, but
it won't be easy. It's not designed to be easy. Quit crying about it. Grab someone to help you. Grab someone to help you and go do it. Go do it. Yeah, quit pretending it's impossible. It's not impossible. You don't need permission and you don't need anything except just someone to believe in you and you to believe in you, and then to just get up and do it. That's it.
Frank, thank you for joining us this morning. I'm going to give my co-host Fred the final thought on the last day of 2025. Close us out here, my friend.
This just happened. In 2026, we're going from fine to effective. Period.
I love it. From fine to effective. 2026, here we come. Dark helmet